Welcome to the ACC Panic Room alongside Lauren Brownlow. I'm Joe Ovies. They say Duke and Carolina always delivers, Lauren. Can't say that anymore.
No, not really. Yeah, I do. It's funny in hindsight, I do think for the most part, and there have been exceptions to this, but I think the second game of the year is always the worst one, usually.
Fair enough.
That's usually the one that is decided by a wider margin by either team. That's not to say there have been exceptions, obviously, but the first game of the year tends to be the one that's pretty close, pretty well played, usually a little drama to it. But obviously, I'm sorry. I don't care what any of y'all say to me, and I've seen my Twitter mentions. I don't care. Duke had not lost by more than 7 all year to anyone.
Yeah.
If you want to come out and tell me that you and so my tweet was, I did not expect Duke to play like poo.
Neither did I.
And everyone's like, oh, why not? They're not that good. That's not the point. Yeah. And by the way, it has less to do with North Carolina, who we know is capable of playing the way that they play.
Well, my response to that would be, who's to say Carolina's that good? I looked at it this way, and when we talked about this going into the game, the way Duke had played against Louisville, which we know is not a team that was as bad as they were against Carolina and Chapel Hill, losing by 45 points. Losing to Georgia Tech, who, as we see now, they're the 4th seeds. By the way, shout out to Josh Pastner. Did you see the video where he was rooting for Virginia so they could be the 4th seed?
Yep.
I mean,
he wore the face shield.
He wore the face shield and everything. It was hilarious. And if you didn't see it, this is what it looked like. He's thumbs up saying "Go Hoos" and all that stuff. Josh Pastner, you're a gem. Anything that I've ever said in the past about you, I take it back. You have been an absolute gem all season. We appreciate you.
P.S. Jose Alvarado said that if they make the tournament, he wants to braid his hair. I really need this to happen.
So getting back to Duke and Carolina, the way Duke played in overtime losses to good teams led me to believe that this would be a better game, because we all have seen the ups and downs of North Carolina, right? The alternating wins and the losses. It's not like this Carolina team is head and shoulders better. I mean, they're a 6th seed for a reason. The range of which they could have fallen, depending on how the ACC played out today, I think they could have been as high as 5, right? I think they could have been as high as 5 and maybe drop down to 9 or something like that. Regardless, there's a reason why they were right there stuck in the middle. So Carolina fans, celebrate the win, but let's not act like, it was that, there's some sort of foregone conclusion.
Well, right.
But
Duke doesn't even know what team's going to show up. Why do you think you do?
Absolutely not. I mean, about that, it's one of those things where, shout out to our guy Andrew, who had a little fun at Duke's expense, because you'll remember after Marquette came to the Smith Center and beat Carolina pretty badly, Duke was having a little fun with that. The official account tweeted out this gif of Wojciechowski and Coach K embracing and things like that after the loss. So, I mean, everybody's having their fun with it. But I just bring this back up to reiterate the point. Let's not act like this game was some sort of foregone conclusion. I was pretty surprised that Duke played as bad as they did, and they played right into Carolina's strength with bad shots that turned into transition, and it was pretty much a wrap 5 minutes in the game.
Yeah, that's what surprised me. Again, not that Carolina won, not even that they won by double digits necessarily, but the fact that Duke just, in every other game this year, they've come out and shown, a lot of, for a word Coach K would use, verve. But in another Coach K-ism, he said afterwards that Carolina knocked them back. He said
There it is. Yep.
Yeah, and they did. And that's the thing, I think. And a lot of the Carolina players afterwards, and Roy as well, pointed to Walker Miller, Wes's half-brother, coming in and taking a charge early and just sort of setting the tone for them for the rest of the game. And it makes sense, but still, they really did come out, to Carolina's credit, they came out and they were ready. They were not messing around. And yeah, I was surprised to see Duke surprised by that, because let's be realistic too, right? Yes, Duke is not Duke this year, by any stretch, but that does not mean that teams don't come out, wanting to beat them, wanting to do well against them. And, I was surprised to see Duke as sort of shaken as they were by the way North Carolina played. Yes, that surprised me, because, again, they have not lost a game this year by more than 7 points in league play, and that was their biggest loss all season. So, yes, I'm allowed to be surprised by that.
Now, I will not be surprised when Duke doesn't make the NCAA tournament. I mean, they needed to win today in Chapel Hill to have any sort of argument to be in the at-large pool for the NCAA tournament. It's going to take an automatic bid by winning the ACC tournament, but Duke's doing something we haven't seen, playing on a Tuesday. They've won 4 games in 4 days. We've seen that before. But the problem is there's really nothing about this particular group that would give you that confidence. If they couldn't really muster it or bring it today against the Tar Heels, we're not going to see that consistently for 5 days in Greensboro. So they'll open things up against Boston College on a Tuesday at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Ooh, yeah.
Brutal. Now, we'll get to the ACC tournament here in a second, because there's one other thing about because what else can you say about this Carolina-Duke game other than Carolina had it and Duke absolutely did not? So credit to North Carolina for continuing this interesting pattern of looking like
win-loss.
Yeah, no, they're 4-4 in their last 8 games. If you go to the Ken Palm, it's perfect. You get the green, you get the orange, the green, the orange, all that fun stuff. So it's been funny to see that. Now, after the game ended, people were making a big deal out of the fact that Roy Williams, head coach of the Tar Heels, decided to kiss the NC logo on his way out of the floor. Jones Angel had posted that, and the reactions to this have been hilarious. Like, people are freaking out. People pointing out Antoine Jameson doing this thing.
Right, I was going to say, for context, because considering no one on this current team was born when Antoine Jameson was playing at UNC and did this, when they lost to Utah in the Final Four in 1998, he was a junior with Vince Carter, and when they lost, he kissed the court. And I think they were in the Alamo Dome, if I'm not mistaken. And he kissed the court, and that was a clear signal from him that, like, he's moving on to the NBA at that point.
So as you can see, I mean, I'm just kind of scrolling down here, and everybody's just having this particular reaction. I had tweeted this out, and it was kind of funny to see some reaction. People texted me, right? Like, not tweet back at me. They texted me like, hey, man, I don't know. I really don't know what this could mean, because, they bring up the Antoine Jameson. They're bringing up all these other reasons why they could see Roy Williams just saying, forget this. I don't want to do this anymore. Folks,
I was going to say, the other thing, too, is this, and this is a pretty big tell with Roy. I think if it were, honestly, this is my honest opinion, I think if it were something like that, I think he might have been a little more defensive in postgame when asked about it, or a little more cagey. Yeah. And instead, he was like, we went 10-1 here. We only lost 1 game here. Like, he had a very quick answer to the question, as if like it were obvious that like that's why. And it was like, okay. Still weird. Like, still a little weird, but like
that's fine. That's fine. All I know is there could be an uptick in Hubert Davis talk. There could be an uptick in Brad Stevens talk. I mean, I don't know. But I'm with you. I don't think this is really anything. And I would say the same thing about Coach K as well. Anybody trying to take deeper meaning in a really, really messed up pandemic basketball season.
That's the thing. Yeah, I'm going to point this out too.
This ain't it. Like, this ain't the thing. Like, this wouldn't be the reason why. I think most coaches, even at knowing that they see the exit, right? Like, Roy Williams knows he doesn't have that many years coaching left. Coach K knows he doesn't have that many years coaching left. I don't think they want this weird ass season to be the last season. That's all I'm saying. I was
gonna say, like, can you imagine that? Like, no, they don't want that. And both of them have talked openly this year about, like, really being eager for things to get back to something resembling normalcy in college basketball, because this hasn't felt normal at all. And so I think, like, no, that's not a thing. They do not want their last season. Like, you think Coach K wants his last season to be a 500 season? Stop it. By the way, they've got a good recruiting class coming in again, and they're going to have most of these guys back. So, like, what? No, stop it.
No. They're going to go. You think Duke's going to go to the NIT, though?
So, okay, this is a two-pronged kind of question, right? Because it's like, would they go if asked, and would they be asked? I don't know that I know the answer to either.
If there's an early exit in Greensboro, I don't know if they'd be asked. That's a valid point to make. If they are asked, I'm inclined to say no, because of the way that Mike Krzyzewski's, not because Krzyzewski's embarrassed or whatever it is. I think it would be because of the nature of the season and how he's talked about his players being isolated for as long as they have. Why would you add to that in a tournament that probably is not why you go to Duke? You don't go to Duke to play NIT games. You go to Duke to win ACC championships, and you go to win NCAA tournament games.
I don't think they're going to lose their first game, just my opinion. But I also don't, I mean, I don't know that they would necessarily be asked because remember, there's a
Might not
certain
be.
number. I don't know how they're doing the auto bids this year in the NIT, but
Yeah.
there are a certain number of leagues that get auto bids for the regular season champs. So like, I don't know that they would be necessarily be asked there no matter almost what happens. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I don't know if they would go fast. I mean, I could see him potentially considering it only because I think some of these guys on the roster could just use the extra time. They didn't get as many games as some of these teams did. They got
Yeah.
young guys that need the reps. Just look at Mark Williams. I mean, that guy needs some games in there. You know what I mean? So I could see it potentially for that reason. But
Yeah,
it's
I'm
not
still
embarrassing to go to the NIT.
I'm still inclined to say no. I'm
It's
still
probably more
inclined to say no.
embarrassing to be not invited to the NIT, to be honest.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
Just saying.
Speaking of tournaments, we'll close on this. We've got the ACC tournament starting up on Tuesday. You can catch all the games on 99.9 The Fan. Lauren, you're going to be with me on Tuesday for the halftime and the in between sessions, and I think also doing some play by play too, right?
We'll
Release some
see.
analyst work,
Yeah, I
right?
don't
All
know
right.
which game yet. Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun. So Gilio put up on the yellow pad form what the bracket's going to look like. We already talked about Duke playing that 4:30 game, and if we were in Greensboro, we'd be locked in for a really long day thanks to Carolina playing at 9 o'clock and then NC State playing Syracuse at noon. There was some conversation about whether or not State fans should want Carolina to beat Duke because of the difference between the 9 and the 10, right? Had Carolina lost to Duke, NC State would have ended up being in the 10 spot.
Right.
I actually like where they are at
Yes.
noon with the Syracuse draw at 8. So they got that. And as we've seen, under Kevin Keats, NC State plays Virginia pretty damn well.
Mm-hmm.
Props to Tony Bennett for winning the league. Florida State on the road continues to be one of those curious cases. So props to Virginia for winning the league. But against the Wolfpack, Virginia has definitely been in some contests, and obviously NC State beat them in Charlottesville. So for NC State, who needs to win games to force a conversation about the NCAA tournament inclusion, I don't hate their draw, honestly.
No, I don't either. And this is the draw I think we thought that they would get. So yeah, you don't have to play 5 games, so that certainly helps you. You avoid Florida State, which I guess who knows how Florida State looks on a neutral site anyway. We don't know.
Yeah.
But still, like, yeah, they match up well with Virginia. I think that they are okay with that. I will say this, and again, like, and the wins help them more, which I think is a big thing. Like,
Yeah, beating Syracuse
Boston
and another
College,
opportunity. Yeah, beating Syracuse and an opportunity to beat Virginia again certainly helps their case.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd want. I mean, they do play Virginia well. I don't know that I would want to play Virginia after just having beaten them at their place. I don't know that I would super want that if I'm a State fan. But at the same time, like, that's the thing. You beat them at another time, and you have made a pretty solid case. I will say that, like, I don't know, it's hard, right? Because, like, okay, if they'd been in Duke's spot, they would have had the chance to beat Louisville and FSU, right? And again, we don't know how Florida State's going to play. I think they could beat Louisville potentially. And so then you get 2 wins that really help you at that point. So I don't know. I just think that it's not out of the realm of possibility that maybe the other draw would have helped them. But either way, they're probably going to have to reach the title game to get consideration anyway. So it's probably better to not have to play 5 games.
Probably not. Meanwhile, North Carolina will get the winner of the Notre Dame Wake Forest game. Notre Dame with a big win, obviously, against Florida State earlier today. But then Notre Dame also didn't look like they had it against NC State on Wednesday. So I would expect Notre Dame to beat the Demon Deacons because things have just been flaming out for Wake Forest under Steve Forbes in this first season. I understand they got some growing pains. But much like North Carolina, Notre Dame is a team in which I don't know what kind of group you're going to get on a particular night.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I'm sure there was some back against the wall mentality there with Notre Dame. Mike Bray coming out and saying what he said about I'm not doing a good job. It might just be stale here for me. And I think his team rallied for him, which means a lot. And they are better than their record, like far better. If you take a look at their schedule, it's been brutal for them. It's been more brutal, I think, even than North Carolina's schedule, which has been really tough. So it's I don't know that I would super love to play Notre Dame if you want to win a game, but I'll say this: if if North Carolina continues its win-loss pattern, it's probably better to lose to Notre Dame, which is going to take a big boost in net after tonight, than it is to lose to Wake Forest if you're going to win-loss it up in here. So,
which, by the way, helps NC State out with Notre Dame's boost in net. Anyway, we will have plenty more to talk about all of next week, so be sure to catch the games on 99.9 The Fan. Brownlow and I will have more panic rooms. I guess we're going to have a pretty typical 5 days of panic room extravaganza starting next week, starting Tuesday with Duke and Boston College.
And I'll be in Greensboro, so I'm going to have to figure out a spot that I can stake out to panic because they're kicking us out between games we're not covering, and it's going to be
all right, Brownlow from the parking lot.
Maybe. Let's do it. It's fine.
Might as well. I think there's a brewery across the street you can go to as well.
Yeah, there is. Might be a good excuse.
Hey, you need an office, right? What better office than a brewery? As long as you got Wi-Fi, you're good to go.
Exactly.
That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the ACC Panic Room. We'll see you all next week.